Hello my metal friends, it is November the 7th of 2023. This video is about a collection update. I've purchased another great bunch of metal albums and I'm going to show you these albums and talk to you about them as well. Let's get right into it. Up first is Celestia with Ethera. This album came out in 2017. This is Celestia's most recent album. I've really gotten heavily into Celestia's music over the past year or two. Purchased a bunch of other albums of theirs as well. And yeah, just phenomenal French black metal. I've actually been familiar with this band since like my early 20s. When I was in my early 20s, actually I found the Cave of Bats EP at a pawn shop, oddly enough, and I purchased it and brought it home and enjoyed it thoroughly. But it's only really been, I would say, the past year or two that I've really gotten heavily into this band, and yeah, I just love their music so much. Very unique style. Some people have described it as being like romantic black metal. It's just very intricate and just so much going on within their music, and very well produced. The music is just so well written, and yeah, I just think this band is just phenomenal. Very unique sort of packaging here. I don't know what you call that exactly. There is a certain term for this. It's different from like a digipack, but I guess it is somewhat of a digipack, but it's more of a like a book of some sort. Doesn't fit in my CD collection, unfortunately, so I had to keep it out of there. But yeah, it looks interesting. As a unique look here. I've never purchased this type of album before, but yeah, interesting format right here. Okay, so that is Celestia with Ethera. If you haven't listened to Celestia before, definitely check them out. My Dying Bride with Like Gods of the Sun. This album came out in 1996. I'm a huge fan of My Dying Bride. I've really gotten heavily into the music over the last year or so. I mean, of course, I've been familiar with this band since like my teenage years, and but it was only up until maybe about a year ago that I really just started getting heavily into the music and just realizing how incredible it is. And of course, I'm a big fan of like sort of like gothic metal or gothic doom style, and this band definitely has some similarities to like bands that I really enjoy, like Catatonia and Paradise Lost. And yeah, very good stuff here. And haven't listened to this album too much, but I have listened to it a bit, and I've enjoyed what I've listened to so far. So yeah, we'll definitely get into it more. Okay, so that is My Dying Bride with Like Gods of the Sun. Catatonia with The Great Cold Distance. This came out in 2006. Okay, so I've had this album for many years, and this is one of my top all-time favorite albums, and is, I would consider to be my top Catatonia album as well, although they have so many other great albums. I mean, Catatonia are such a consistent band, so it's kind of hard for me to pick a favorite album from theirs, but I have considered this to be my favorite album from them. But I just decided to purchase another copy of the album. Of course, I do have the original copy that I purchased back when I was in my, I guess, late teens. This one is a bit of a different format. It does contain a bonus disc here, and that is a DVD, in fact, and also the CD, like the first CD. Does contain a couple of bonus tracks, so you get a couple of the bonus tracks and then the DVD as well, so that's interesting. And I just decided to purchase it. My original copy has quite a bit of wear and tear in it, and this one is, you know, still in pretty good condition, so I figured why not get this copy. Okay, so that is the Catatonia with The Great Cold Distance. All right, up next Catatonia with The Great Cold Distance. Okay, yeah, once again with this album, I decided to purchase it on vinyl as well. I just love this album so much. I mean, it's just such an absolutely phenomenal album. I remember getting this album when I was 19 years old and just falling in love with it. And I mean, this album to me is just absolute perfection, 10 out of 10. It's just so dark and dreary sounding. The songs are just so memorable as well. So many great hooks, just so much emotion and feeling within these songs. Great melodies. The production is just phenomenal. The guitar playing is just incredible. Just the musicianship in general is just phenomenal. And the vocals, I mean, Jonas Rensky's vocals are just absolutely incredible. I mean, what more can you say about this album? Great cover art as well. Yeah, just absolutely amazing, this album. I just love it so much, and I've spoken about this album quite a number of times already, but yeah, I just absolutely love this album. Definitely one of my all-time favorite albums. Great stuff. Okay, so that is Catatonia with The Great Cold Distance on vinyl. Winter Cold with Blow the Horns. This album came out in 2020. Okay, so there's a guy I follow on Facebook. His name is William Tony Sundstrand. He operates a label out of Sweden. He's from Sweden, of course, and he has this label called Salute Records. And I've become sort of like friends with this guy on Facebook, and I've interacted with him quite a number of times. And so yeah, I decided to purchase some albums from his record label, and he also plays in a number of different bands. He's a very prolific musician, and he's been in the metal scene for many years, probably since like the early 1980s, I suppose. Yeah, he's been around for quite a while, and so yeah, this is one of his bands right here. This is Winter Cold, and so I decided to purchase this from him. You know, I want to support him, and like I said, he's been certainly very helpful to me, and has been certainly a very friendly person that I've interacted with online. And so yeah, I purchased some albums from his record label, and yeah, Winter Cold is pretty good stuff. And yeah, check this band out. Okay, yeah, I mean, this is a pretty limited CD as well, so check out his record label, Salute Records, and I'm sure you could purchase this one still, along with so many other like underground black metal albums. Okay, all right, so yeah, Winter Cold with Blow the Horns. Another Winter Cold album right here. This is Winter Cold with As Above, As Below. This came out in 2021. So yeah, he decided to give me this CD as well. I was interested in this one, and he said, well, it's very limited, and he only had like the gray, like the black and white and gray, or I'm not entirely sure what it's called, grayscale. It's just a very limited edition. I think maybe like 10 or 20 copies were printed of this particular album, and yeah, he decided to sell this one to me. I was interested in it, and so yeah, happy to have it in my collection. Obviously very rare. I mean, you could potentially purchase a copy still from him. I don't know exactly, but yeah, definitely check out Salute Records. William Tony Sundstrand, he runs a pretty good record label there, and yeah, definitely give it a look. Okay, so yeah, that is Winter Cold with As Above, As Below. Up next is Ilder with The Monarch. This came out in 2010. This was another album that I purchased from William Tony Sundstrand on, or from Salute Records. I noticed that he had this album available, and I said, yeah, I definitely want that album. And the reason I really want this album is because Ilder, they only have 2 albums, and I've had the first Ilder album entitled The Wandering. I've had that album since like my early 20s. That in fact was one of the first black metal albums that I ever discovered, and I purchased that from a pawn shop as well. And I've had that The Wandering album, like I said, for many years, and I wanted this album for a long time, but it's hard to get your hands on this one, and I noticed he had it, and I said, you know what, you gotta sell that album to me. So yeah, Ilder, The Monarch, definitely happy to have this in my collection. This is like a one-man black metal band out of Mexico. I don't think he's around anymore. I believe he does play in some other projects now, but Ilder has not released an album since, I believe, since this album. Okay, so yeah, definitely worth checking out. Pretty interesting stuff. Okay, so that is Ilder with The Monarch. Okay, so I got some new metal albums here. Of course, I am a fan of new metal, and yeah, I've loved new metal since like my teenage years, right? I mean, new metal was something that really got me into metal, and it was sort of the beginning points in many ways for my sort of metal evolution, I suppose you could say. So yeah, just love new metal still, and yeah, I make no apologies about it. It's great stuff. Okay, so Slipknot with 5, The Great Chapter. This came out in 2014. So yeah, Slipknot, obviously one of the first new metal bands that I got into. Yeah, interesting stuff, and I do have all their first 5 albums now. So yeah, I still need to get their 2 most recent albums as well, but I do have their first 5, so I'm happy about that. Yeah, I do enjoy Slipknot quite a bit. I mean, I used to make fun of Slipknot for many years. I mean, I thought they were kind of a lame band, but you know what, they actually are really good, excellent songwriters, and just very skilled musicians. And yeah, they write really good music, music that's aggressive and varied. Yeah, I'd say the music is quite good, in fact. And yeah, Slipknot, still need to get into this album a little bit more. I've listened to it a bit, but yeah, definitely need to get into it more heavily. Okay, so that is Slipknot with 5, The Great Chapter. Korn with the Serenity of Suffering. This came out in 2016. I've been a huge fan of Korn since like my mid-teens. Amazing band. I've been trying to get all their albums now, and I think I only need 2 more of their albums. I didn't buy their most recent album, and their untitled album, I don't have that as well, so I need those 2 albums in order to complete my Korn collection. Great band. I mean, one of the originators, if not the originator, of the whole nu metal style. Certainly such a great band that writes very dark sounding nu metal music, and just excellent songwriters. And what more can you say about Korn? They're just a great band. To me, they've been a band that's been pretty consistent for the most part. They've released a few albums that maybe haven't been so great, but I think for the most part they've been pretty good and very consistent. Yeah, I really enjoy their stuff so much. Definitely one of my favorite bands, most definitely. Okay, so that is Korn with the Serenity of Suffering. And the last album on my list here is Stained with their self-titled album. This came out in 2011. Yeah, I've been wanting this album for quite a long time, but most of the copies that are available for purchase online go for quite a bit. Usually it's about $40 or so, and I just wasn't really willing to pay that, so I just waited a while. Then I found this one. This one became available from a seller on Amazon, I think for about $25 or so. So I decided, yeah, let's get it. Yeah, I've been wanting this album for quite a long time. I mean, Stained are one of my favorite bands. I've been a huge fan of theirs since like I was 14 when the Don't Break the Cycle album came out. Yeah, back in the early 2000s. Yeah, I was about 14 at that time. So yeah, I really got into them at that time, and that album really blew my mind. And I just got more into them, started purchasing some other albums from them like Dysfunction, and of course the 14 Shades of Grey, which came out afterwards. I purchased that album. Then I didn't really listen to them for many years, but over the past, I would say 6 months or so, I really started to get into them again and just rediscovering their music. And I had purchased some of their other albums that I had never purchased before, like their 2 albums prior to this one. And yeah, great stuff. And of course I did purchase their most recent album, so I do have all their albums now except for their very first album, which is Tormented. I've listened to that album a lot, and I do have a burned copy of that CD, which I've had for years. But that album goes for a lot of money. Their first album, Tormented, it's a hard album to get. I mean, there are some copies available, but they go for usually over $100. So, and I don't know, I'm just not willing to pay that much. I'm not too sure. I'm just kind of waiting it out. Maybe a copy will become available for a cheaper price at some point, but I'm just kind of waiting it out. But I would love to have Tormented. But yeah, definitely happy to have their self-titled album here. I mean, this album is pretty good. They definitely went to a heavier direction with this album. It's quite heavy, in fact, throughout. Yeah, very good stuff. And yeah, Stained, great band. Of course, like I said, I've been really getting to their music once again, and I've been enjoying their new album quite a bit. And yeah, great band. I think I will do a Stained albums rank video at some point. I'm sure that'll happen. Who knows, maybe next year. And in fact, I think that may very well happen, a Stained albums rank video. Okay, all right, so that is Stained with their self-titled album. Okay, so those are a bunch of albums I purchased recently. Great albums. I've been enjoying them quite a bit, and have purchased a bunch of other albums as well, so there will be some more collection update videos coming within the coming weeks and months. And so yeah, look out for that. And otherwise, I've been very busy with my band Ordo Ab Chao. I have started the recording process, so I mean that's just beginning now, and it's a lot of work, and will be a lot of work for the next several months. And yeah, it's but yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to completing this album, and it's going to be phenomenal. I feel very confident that this will be a great album, and I know that people will definitely enjoy it a lot. Okay, so I think that's about all I have to say. I want to say thanks to all the people who watch my videos and subscribe to my channel. I really truly appreciate it. Okay, so yeah, thanks for watching, and have yourselves an excellent day. Take care, my friends. Cheers.